Welcome to the Tao of Pizza, where we feature top logistics leaders, entrepreneurs, and supply chain innovators and share their inspiring stories with a holistic twist.
Mark Hiddleson here, host of the Tao of Pizza podcast, where I talk with top industry innovators in the warehousing, logistics, and supply chain business with a holistic twist. Before I introduce Michele Carroll, this episode is brought to you by Specialized Storage Solutions, Inc. Listen, I've been in the logistics and storage industry for several decades, and I know I won't look that old, but it's true. We provide industry-leading warehouse storage solutions nationwide. So basically, if you have a warehouse that needs rack shelving, carts, conveyors, or mezzanines, we help with the design, engineering, installation, inspections, and repairs to help clients optimize their logistics operations. And a lot of people don't even realize that we can actually help with permit acquisition services as well. So to learn more, visit specialracks.com or give us a call at 707-732-3892. And I even give out my personal email address for podcast listeners. So email me at markhiddleson@aol.com. Today we have Michele Carroll, and Michele's been a leader. And for most of us in the San Francisco Bay Area, Silicon Valley, she's been the face of CSCMP for decades, which is the Council of Supply Chain Management Professionals. Michele Carroll is president and founder of Carrollco Marketing Services, and now the executive director of ISSIP, which is the International Society of Service Innovation Professionals. Her company, Carrollco Marketing Services, celebrates 30 years in 2023. She's been a leader at CSCMP since 1993 and just completed her first 6 months as executive director with ISSIP. Her and her business are both evolution stories fueled by growth, change, and continuous improvement. Everyone that knows Michele is a leader of CSCMP and now ISSIP, and she does all of that while actually running a business that's grown, evolved, and helps the logistics companies we all respect. Michele, welcome to the Tao of Pizza.
Thank you, Mark. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's great to see you. I love your background. Looks awesome. We've got a great view there from where you're sitting.
Oh, yes. Yes. There will be some things walking by. We can.
Yeah, we met through, we both were kind of serving industry councils, starting in the I was the late 90s, you've been since the 90s. And I wanted to mention Michael McKitka. He is somebody he was a president of WORK at the time, which was the organization I was serving. You've been with CSCMP, Women in Logistics. And so you can check out the Michael McKitka episode, and he's the executive vice president for the Material Handling Institute's Knowledge Center, and he runs the WORK division, which is now part of MHI. So how did you get started in, well, you must be young too. You look younger than me when I say that on the commercials. Like, I don't look that old. Like, how did you get involved in a CSCMP and which used to be CLM, which they made it complicated at some point?
Yeah,
How did that and kind of Carrollco, how did those two things kind of come about?
Yeah, it was CLM when I heard of it first. And I come from and yes, I did start this all in kindergarten. I'm from a trucking family, right? Intermodal trucking. So came from that space, logistics, never intended to be in it, right? As most of us weren't. But I had, like, in retrospect, looks like a short career of like 11 years that was this corporate. From the intermodal trucking family, I was in sales with Sealand Maritime there for 8 years. I went to ITEL Rail, so we rail car leasing, and then Emery Worldwide, so air freight. And in most of those, it was acquisition-led departures. And I founded Carrollco in '93, left Emery, had found my own company. And it was as I was leaving, I had been booked as Emery to go to the big CLM thing, and I had no idea what that was. They booked me, Dave Beatson. And then I left the company. That all happened. I was working on starting a family. And I went anyway to see what it was, and I was just in awe, right? It was, I'd never been anything so big. This is 93. And those were the days when the conferences drew 7,000, and I went and I met all these people, and it was hundreds of sessions, and 3 days. It's shrunk to quarter of that now, but I was in awe, and I checked it out there that there are round tables, around the world and everywhere, and the concept was so good. And I dug in when I got back, checked out CLM, Council of Logistics Management then, right?
Uh-huh.
Which made perfect sense for a person launching a marketing company in the logistics space. Um, so it became central to the annual event. I always made sure I was going to that, and started working with the roundtable, then. Kinda never stopped. I think I'm the longest single presence overall.
Yeah. I remember I thought it was gonna be me. I started it was the late 90s when I started attending work events. Kind of like you, they had one, and so those national events are great. The work ones were like 1,000 people to 1,200. The
Mm.
CLM, the CSCMP were always way bigger. But those national conferences, like the level of people you meet, like everybody there is like a manager, or owner of a company, or director. It was just a great place to learn. Yeah, and the round tables. Uh, I just wanted to be around that energy. So there was one here in San Francisco, so I went to that, and then I thought I'm never missing one of these things. And
That's awesome.
to serve, you really have to go to the national conference. Like a lot of people are members locally, and they choose not to go to the national conference. And so I started in work, and it was probably about 10 years that I was actively serving on the board. So I commend you because I thought
Mm.
after 10 years, I was like, I've been serving this board for 10 years. I want to, and I still attend the events. I still support. I go to your stuff. I mean, your events are really good. So, what are some of the things you learn by doing that? I mean,
Actually, well, and there were twice, there were 2 spots where, I did try to leave. I
yeah,
did try to, because there's beauty to succession planning and new energy taking over, and then it should broaden and become different networks, right? And, we didn't want to squeeze mine dry,
yeah,
and we did. Honestly, I started getting involved in leadership. I was involved and just in I chaired the annual banquet. Do you remember when we had that? So,
yeah.
Apex and work, and this was when it was Rick Merritt at Apex, and Rick Thaw, Golden Gate, right? Everybody would have their little booths at the what was that? The Basque Cultural Center,
Or
and we'd
even
have
that one.
speakers.
The Golden
It,
Gate Yacht Club is we did some other events. I remember they were always
yeah,
great
yeah, 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 yeah.
venues in
That's
San
where
Francisco.
Will started that, the Women in
Yeah,
Logistics. But it was different people, though, that were involved with the roundtable versus the annual conference, and you really met. It was different, kind of bigger roles, as you said, at the annual.
yeah.
And yeah, what did I learn? Honestly, for me, and we're talking, I probably got into leadership of the roundtables in the late 90s, right? I was involved, or mid
Mhm.
90s. Yeah, when I was with Eclipse Group Consulting, supply chain consulting, we were building that practice, and it was a focused. I wanted to get involved to be on leadership to help grow my consulting company, Eclipse Group, right? It was mercenary, and and help recruit and bring in the people that weren't just the service providers, right? Bring in those branded product companies that we wanted to serve and that they wanted to serve. Um, and it was, I mean, at the time, I remember there were headquarters did such a nice job of training leadership, right? Where they bring in roundtable leaders. It's learnings that are serving me well now on how to speak, how to, and then these new entry level folk like myself at the time in the 90s, to get comfortable in front of a room if you weren't, right? And we
Yeah.
weren't. Nobody was. You didn't want to.
That-
So VP programs had to do that, and the VP marketing had to do this, and you had your specific tasks, and okay, you've got to introduce this person, right? So you have to look it up and see who they were, and have your paragraph, and be ready, get to the front of the room. That was so challenging to me then, right? And
yeah.
by the end, but I love that. I thrive. I love being out there and chatting with the room. But I know everybody, and we brought through so many people that became comfortable, and it became that collegial atmosphere. And so biggest learning was just that, getting comfortable and shifting from it being about, my sales goals to building something where
Yeah.
other people would grow and develop and become the leaders. And I did try to transition out. I left. I kind of retired once, and then there was a point after Lisa Dolan, or after Lisa, there was Kate Mosley, and then after they served, no one wanted to continue, and they called me back in, and
It's
anyway, that
yeah.
was cool. That
I'm
lasted
glad.
for
Yeah, I'm glad you shared it that way, and I'm glad they pulled you back in because you're awesome at it. Uh,
oh, thank you.
and that public speaking, I would put that at one of the top ones of mine too. And I was lucky to have with work, it was more the senior people. Like you started out on the board, you just succeeded to president. Like you started out as an associate board member, and then you went. They had names for it all, like
Mhm.
secretary, treasurer, or board member at large, and then vice president, president, and past president. So I had mentors, and Dennis and Ray were awesome at. They shared things with me that I didn't know what they were talking about, but it was kind of like you were saying. It's not about being salesy and how many contacts you can make with your business card and everything. It's really just about relationships, and then that other stuff will kind of take care of itself. And they were really good at training me about like the tour shouldn't be too pitchy. And even if you have somebody who's a speaker from a industry, like they're selling their product, but their speech should be more education based. And one good thing for me is neither Ray nor Dennis liked to do the introductions and the speaker at every meeting to say welcome everybody. So they always had it as the new guy to have me do it. So I got
Yeah,
really good at
you
it.
got really good at
And
comfortable.
it was one of the things. And when I started out, there's the local roundtables, or we would host a tour. It'd be like 40 or 50 people. In the beginning, I knew just 4 or 5. And then, but after 5 years, if there were 50 people there, I probably knew 30. So it got easier and easier. And
That's
that's,
what you got got tours to an art form. I always saw collaborate as CSCMP to collaborate with the others on what they're best at. Should be with Will on that golf tournament, should be with work on a tour, should be with Apex on, a certification kind of how to and why it's good. And CSCMP, we tried to be branded as that kind of overall, right? Bring in
yeah,
that executive with the broader perspective. Um, what the other thing I learned in addition to speaking, we and to credit others, it was Sergio Retamo who came back, wanted to energize it. It had fallen down again, right? To
uh-huh,
30, same 30, 38 people were coming, everything.
yeah,
And he recruited me. He said he'd come in and be president if Alan Davis would be VP programs and I'd be VP marketing. And if he had that, then we'd do it, and we did. And that was how it got started. It wasn't me. It was
yeah,
Sergio bringing that in. And then, and the first thing I, as a marketing person, wanted to do was survey. And we collaborated because our list was not good of who the prospective contacts are in the Bay Area. And Apex, Work, Will collaborated with us, shared lists so that we could survey. And, I structured it and then shared the results with everybody of what would you come to? What would make you want to come out? What are the key topics? What are the challenges you're facing? And, we repeated that survey multiple times over the years, never changed. It was
yeah.
big companies. I bring in iconic companies and let's hear about their, kind of this best practice stories. What are they doing?
Yeah,
And
and it reminds me, and your events were always awesome because they were cutting edge. I remember, probably a year before the first drone delivery ever happened in real life, I watched a presentation at one of your events. It was somewhere in the Silicon Valley, somewhere. I don't know if you remember that. You had a speaker that was talking about the prospect of drone deliveries, where everyone was kind of looking. I was like,
mm,
oh yeah, this is super out of space, this thing talk. So that was the first.
robotics. Yeah, yeah.
What's that? Yeah, so that was one of the first talks I ever went to, where you had a speaker, and I can't remember what he was talking about. Yeah, like it's coming. They're doing they. So this
Yeah.
isn't like, and probably I don't know if it was 6 months down to the year, now it's kind of people using drones for all kinds of stuff and robotics.
Fetch. It was Fetch Robotics.
What's
I
Fetch
don't know why
Robotics?
his CEO was that was a Carl Gardino. Those were amazing. The predictions events, right? With
Yeah,
yeah, there are little snippets that stand out as like, what? Who knew? Mark Buck was Biorad Laboratories. Now he's over at Exelitis, also running supply chain. But he was at Biorad and came in, and everybody's asking about 3D printing. Is that going to happen? And he goes, yeah, we've been using that for years.
yeah,
Wait, what?
it's old
They
school
were-
in some industries, yeah, and it's just so it gets adopted in certain industries, and then the visionary people go, well, they're using it in this industry, we can use it in our industry. Uh,
yeah.
so
Yeah.
what this is a good, I think it's a good segue into. I think there's some overlap. So tell me a little bit more about what service innovation professionals do and how I think there's some overlap in that, uh, supply chain management professionals and what you're doing now.
Yeah, they sure there should be more overlap. I don't know if you remember Terry Griffith, who had spoken. One of the things I did with CSCMP was start chairing the annual innovation event, and she was one of my speakers. And I met her at a one of the annual conferences. I think she says it went sooner and that we know each other longer, but it was definitely through CSCMP. She's the current president of ISSIP, and she reached out to me earlier this year. But when I met, and this is more than 10 years ago, probably more than 15 years ago, that she came out with a plugged in manager, and it was about integrating people, technology, process, and that those are going to be the organizations that thrive. And it was just fresher thinking than I'd heard, and it was new and exciting to me. So when this executive directorship came open earlier this year, she reached out to ask if you know anybody, right? And I'm thinking, and then actually she said, if it, but it's only part time. I think of you, but it's only part time. And I'm like, ooh, part time is what I can do because
Yeah.
I've not abandoned my clients in Carrollco, right? But so yeah, it was a no brainer talking with these. It's ISIP, ISSIP. So, and you said, and thank you. You've gotten all the alphabet soup correct on all these things. But the International Society of Service Innovation Professionals, I had never heard of it. And everyone I know from CSCMP, 100% of the people have also not heard of it, right? I
Yeah.
say 98 because Terry. But and that's amazing to me. I think ISIP has become super known for its annual. It's okay. The mission is to support and develop people-centered, data-intensive innovation that's of service to business, to society, and to innovation itself. Right. So, and they do annual awards. Um, so I started in April, and like inside my first week, I understand it's your first day on the job, but we have our 14 award here. You need to reach out to these 14 companies and let them know that they won. And it's the big three. And then there were 11 of the distinguished recognition for services. Reading what these are, I mean, it's the most amazing thing. So it's the best initiatives on the planet underway, for innovating service in some way that is of benefit to society. That was won by AB Robotics, and it's this robot. I'm not going to get into the particulars, but there's an award for innovation itself, won by Cisco, an innovation of you know service merit to business or service innovation for the benefit of society, and that was the AB Robotics. And then 11, one of the winners of the Bell and Howell senior executive has just stepped up to lead the awards process for the coming year because our guy had retired. And it's the energy you mentioned. That was the perfect word about what had been excited about CSCMP, exciting about it to me initially. The energy when you ask for help, when you are looking for leaders, is just phenomenal. Like this Harun Abu is going to lead the awards process. Got a woman coming in to develop this a service product that we're going to brand and roll out in the spring. I'm very excited about. That's, collaboration initiatives with these institutional members I want to reach out to and start bringing in to partner with ISSIP to do things in the world. So to help, pilot or test or ask a question or survey or research something or um, just initiatives that are in service innovation of any type across industry, across sector, and across function. Um, and the things that are coming up are just amazing. So like CSCMP, it has ISIP hosts regular events. There's a weekly speaker series. So those award winners, for example, will talk about what the project was and what they were trying to achieve, what they did achieve. Um, just a Zoom call, it's a little 1 hour. There have been 15 of those in the last couple months. And then they do a deep dive in fall and in spring. And leading what, so I had to shadow Jim Spohr, one of the founders. He himself pioneered what they call service science, right? It's a rigorous scientific discipline looking at service itself and how then to innovate it. So it's a field I was unaware of. And
Yeah.
and Jim, so he's now just such a pleasure to work with everyone as I'm interviewing about whether to take this role or not. Was just the opportunity to work with Jim is worth whatever it is you've got to pay in time,
Nice.
and we meet weekly, Zoom weekly to just touch base on initiatives afoot. He just wrote, okay, one example, last month or September it was, he published, one of the things he manages for ISIP is help members who want to publish or co-publish with ISIP. If you want to write a book on service innovation, whatever variety it is you're up to, or your perspective on it, or research it and publish results. He and Haluk Demirkian, who works at Amazon, um, managed this partnership. Jim himself wrote Service in the AI Era, right? That came out in September. It's like the definitive book. These become the textbooks for people learning AI or service science or innovation.
Yeah,
And then
because
October,
with,
yeah, sorry.
with AI, to me, like a lot of service goes down. When you look at automated call centers or whenever you want to get or chats or anything. So service innovation is talking about using technology, but using it in a way where it engages the customer or customers. When you give the survey later, they go, "Yeah, that was a good experience." Or is that a good example about what service innovation is? Is like we have
Well,
technology or data or whatever we're
so
using.
using that'd be like in supply chain, that'd be like saying, is a visibility tool then a good example of supply chain, right? It's sort of, that's one thing, right? The technology, but the idea of service innovation is that it be people-centered. It's about the people. The whole thing is it can't be just AI, right? It needs
Right.
to be AI paired with like some warehousing clients that are looking at automating warehouse operations and bringing in robotics to free people to do what people do. It doesn't replace it. It. What am I looking for? It expands
It
your
expands, or yeah, it
capability
gives,
set.
yeah, exactly. And you can enhance it, actually enhance the employee experience if the robotics are involved. When you have the right approach, it can enhance things for everybody. And then I think also, and so I want you to give me some examples of industry, more. I want more examples of service. I mean, I'd consider myself service innovation professional because nobody really goes about our business the way we do. They're not asking the same questions, they're not doing the same homework or
Mhm.
research. And I also see I started looking more into data, however you want to say it, more because I'm seeing these companies start to use it. That there's the IT people who really know where all the data is, how it could be tied together in the cloud or things like that. But there's a lot of people who they know what to do with it. If they knew where it was or everything, those the
Right.
right questions to ask. And that's what I think you're when you say by people centered is like, are you getting the people involved who are actually going to talk to each other who might not know anything about data, but they know, hey, if I knew, how many orders were coming every Friday by 2 o'clock,
Right.
we
And
could
it
have it
should
up.
just be a tool. It should be a tool toward an end, right? That the people and technology tools are being used together to achieve
Yeah.
something. That's the service. What you do in the end, right? IBM was International Business Machines, and it was about machinery, and they were selling hardware. That was a service innovation to become that consultative processing partner, right? And all right, you've told me I need to arm myself, and I do. I need 3 good examples. So I don't have it for you today, but I'm new here.
Yeah, well, I think it's a great, because service innovation, I'm just, so I think of a Salesforce, and I don't know a lot about it, but a lot of
Mm,
theirs is like automated customer relationship management, right? And that's what I would call
mhm.
service. And for me, even like, I don't want anything automated in my service. When I want it to be, but I say that, but now I'm using automated calendar function. I'm using
I was
automated,
just gonna say, no,
yeah.
no, you were automated in how you scheduled, and that's not common in our industry. So
And so, and I'm available. So the thing is, with me, I've been a one, and you probably, with running a company, running CSCMP, and all you do is, you're not like anyone can just call you anytime and you'll answer the phone, right? If you're introducing the speaker at the podium for an hour, you're not going to be checking emails. You're not going to be
right.
text. So I wanted a way where people can schedule times with me, have these times blocked out. And I was actually terrified of it to start with. It's like, no, I'm not putting my schedule online, or, there was
Yeah,
fear.
you have to put in the buffers and keep your spots.
And yeah, and I think you and we had to reschedule because uh I had the plane and there were time changes, and I thought I was going to be able to do it because I was going to be able to do it, but I was going to do it with 11:30 where I was, but then here it was like 9:30 in the morning. What was 11?
Oh, right, where you were traveling?
Yeah. So I was traveling for business and thought, oh, this is going to be great. Well, I'll just record it, in the lobby or my hotel room, or I'll get a meeting room or something. So yeah, I think that's, and it's a value to my clients. Sometimes if they need to schedule a call, I can send them a link, like, here, book a 30-minute strategy meeting, or book, 15, like whatever you need. And then they know it's there. Like, you don't have to call me on the phone, get a hold of me, leave me a message. I'll call you back. We work.
Right, right, and that takes so just imagine in whatever work it is you do, applicable to absolutely anyone. If you could think of the pieces that are repetitive, if you could think, and if there was a digital twin for Mark Hiddleson, right? If there was a digital twin, you could work 24 hours. They could be getting done, your digital twin. And this is not science fiction. This is happening, right?
Well,
This is like the drone delivery. It's
well,
already working for people now, right? There, or I'm sorry, soon to be. But the digital twin conversations, like the equivalent now in the service science field, right? They're talking about this like we were talking drone delivery a decade ago, as like maybe it'll happen, and some leaders were well on the way to that, right? But the notion that, and it's not replacing you, it's not a frightening thing. There's the privacy concerns. There it is a complicated thing, but it's doable, and it will be a helpful thing, and it will free the actual human to do things that only a human can do.
yeah,
And we're not using more than 10% of our brains, right?
I love that. Yeah, that's what my book is about, trying to use that extra 1%. So use 11% instead of 10%. Like all you need to do. So,
Right,
and when you say the digital replacement is happening right now, I'm laughing because
digital
that's
twin.
what the podcast is. It's a digital, it's not a replacement.
Yeah.
These conversations, and that's why I want to give access to, because now if somebody asks me what's a service innovation professional, I can say, well, I just had a conversation with the executive director of service innovation, and it's, I found it's not a, it is a digital replacement. And one of the best advantages we're having with this is that my staff is watching this, or my clients they're seeing things from other interviews that now they can ask me about. So I don't have to actually have that conversation. Or if
Right.
somebody's interested in voice pick technology. I've interviewed a client who they did a voice pick installation. So he talked about, why it works and the advantages. So for
And it's
me, go ahead.
no, I just want to say it's just service, making it
Yeah.
better. through using tools and working with people, seeing both for all they can be, and then innovating to make service of benefit to
Yeah.
people, society, humanity, right? It's just, yeah, it doesn't have to be technology.
Yeah.
And actually, that's the opportunity of ISIP. I see what's happened is a very technical focus, like in supply chain management. There's been a very, the visibility tools, the processes, the equipment. There's the physical making the flow more efficient, but the people being unhappy, the people not wanting to be that there can be remote work. These notions of what's inspiring and motivating and retains people not doing well anywhere, right? And that needs incorporated. So that's what it is. So people-centered, data-intensive innovation that makes service more beneficial for people and business and society.
Yeah.
That's a cool thing to be working on. I'm just very excited about. And the cool thing is, you know what? One thing you did say that I'm going to call you out on. It's a CSCMP flaw. That's a beauty I see in ISO. It's truly international, right? CSCMP, big claim to fame is that it's supposed to be, it is, and the beauty of it, the vision is it's a global network, right? And in that directory, you could reach out to your colleagues, and I did. It's a big benefit still of CSCMP. Um, but people will talk about the national conference. It's a global conference.
It's a global.
It's not Americans with some people, right? It's very ethnocentric. And to feel the difference when our first board meeting, um, e- everybody, these Zoom calls, it was just what seemed futuristic to me that, wow, this is a truly global board. They're in Asia and Europe and here. And it was just really, and across the states, right? And that too is different. And really working together toward a shared goal. It isn't just about, generating business and getting those leads. And it's about this real vision for making the world better, working. It's just very exciting.
Yeah. And so I also want to kind of figure out what kind of companies does Carrollco help when you do
Mm.
their marketing. Well, what's sort of your niche? Like, what's your ideal customer for Carrollco?
The ones we have.
Yeah. Your
Um,
best. Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
no, and I'm a marketing person, totally get you. Yes, there's a sweet spot. Um, it's changed so much. I had started out in logistics, helping the people I know with projects, not knowing what I wanted to do. So project after project after project started snowballing into a business. And it's like, oh, okay, well, this is what I do. Size markets, help with PR, write articles for you. And it was this kind of ad hoc thing for um, logistics, people out of transportation and logistics that I knew. And then they'd start moving from company to company and bring me to different companies. And then, how we grew. And then I'd bring in people to help me. And then project to project, I got this amazing bench of people. Um, and it was probably 10 years. I think 5 years is what I peg as when it started becoming a going concern where I wasn't, oh, I'm finished with this project. What am I doing next month? I don't even know, right? When you
right.
pass that point and have some ongoing business and referral business, and I've grown 100% by referral. And that first 10 years was logistics, transportation folk. And then they'd go to a high tech company, to Cisco or HP, and these were, some of the earlier work, and wanted to select service providers. So we did this really cool work of managing RFQ processes. And then I paired up with the Clips group and did more of that. And
Managing what, Michelle? What RFP processes did you say?
yeah, helping select a service provider, right? So you do the who's capable of what, which was a wonderful networking tool in
Yeah.
itself, right? And
Yeah.
you're the person managing the purse strings for some of these heavyweights. Um, and then I met just in the course of that, helping some Silicon Valley big characters, selecting service providers and logistics providers, transportation providers, quantifying cross-border traffic, a little research here and there. Um, I met Enterprise Ireland. Oh, and it was a woman, Diane Roberts, that, and we just really hit it off. And I started doing a completely different thing because I'd been doing some research, helping her with it. They're the biggest VC in Europe, Enterprise Ireland. They help Irish companies succeed in global markets. And over the course of that next decade, building on to the logistics work, we help more than 600 Irish companies come into the United States, market entry strategy, and then there happened to always be a logistics network should you need it. But
Nice.
market entry and the PR and building out the websites, but most important, turning that 3-hour Irish breakfast into the 30-second elevator pitch, right? What
Yeah.
is it you do? What's the value proposition, and who cares why? And yeah, more than 600. And then that was the bulk of and it shifted from 80-20 logistics to some Irish business here and there to 80-20 Irish and then Italian and German and helping those governments. And, we grew. Um, and then budgets kind of dried up in Europe. And third decade, I, reached back out to I've got capacity and, back to logistics. So and that's truly what happened. And we did more Northern Irish still, and German, and I still, but sporadic. And now we have a really strong logistics and supply chain, helping people, service and technology providers in the logistics and supply chain management sector. That's our biggest practice area.
Biggest
Um,
clients, so service providers. What are some people who do like route optimization
so
or
warehouse logistics. We do, and actually, I think I touch base with Jeremy. I'm allowed to mention one, the biggest uh, warehouse logistics provider, not in Northern California, is Prism Logistics, and we've done help the family Van Pufflin for more than a decade, um,
yeah,
with growth, and through them. And I think you should always credit the network contact. Again, that goes back to CSCMP,
yeah.
but it was Emily Mearness. I don't know if you remember her, Emily Rodriguez. She got to be the highest ranking woman with Fujitsu Corp, was logistics. She introduced me to Jerry Van Pufflin back in 2001, because it was in September 9/11, right?
Wow.
2001.
Yeah.
And there was a CSCMP conference and introduced me to Jerry there. It was years later before I actually did some work for him, but Prism belongs to quite a few consortia. So that was the initial intro to quite a few entities that are marketing associations across the United States, providing, it's regional warehouse logistics providers that serve their region, and then together they're a national entity.
The
Um,
network, yeah. Which
and
is
I
a great
still,
way to, yeah, because you can deal with a lot of times the smaller companies. All of my friends are involved in that. Chris Murphy is one of my best friends, best
mm,
clients. It's funny, I was reading, I've always said it's a good idea to mix business with pleasure. And I didn't realize what I meant by it was like going to events and like I'm friends with a lot of my clients. And I saw this article was like why it's a bad idea to mix business with pleasure. And I just realized at the young age of 52 that mixing business with pleasure, a lot of times it means like an office romance affair.
oh,
That's
yeah, no, that's not a good.
mixing business with pleasure. I'm like, that's not what I'm about at all.
Yeah, I'm with
But
you. I agree. It
but
should be fun, but
it, it's making fun, like having friends with people we do business with, and we go to a lot of the
yeah.
same national events. Like Chris is involved in, American Frozen Foods Inc., which is another. It's logistics, but it's on the frozen side because there's a cold chain.
Mm,
And
mm.
but people like Jerry, I met Jerry through work, and yeah, and the networking, the introductions.
And now Jeremy's taken it over, and that's one. But they introduced me years ago, and I still handle the marketing for Team DCA, Distribution Centers of America, American Chain of Warehouses, Allied Distribution. So those are all
Okay, okay,
regional companies. Some of them are national, but within those entities, they partner, and you know,
yeah,
it's
And what I
Really?
started to say about Chris's company, they're locally owned company, so they can give you like that service level, but they have the national network, so they can
Mm,
do projects nationwide. Is that what you're telling Jerry? They're involved in the
exactly,
same.
exactly. And then, yeah, the Van Puplins would be the Northern California and
Yeah.
or West. But yeah,
Yeah.
and they're more regional players. I mean, there's been research on actually, we did some years ago, research on who do you prefer to choose, the big boys, the big third-party logistics
Right.
companies that have national networks because they have that control, right? Is that
Right.
preferable or regional? And the way things are shifting to where you need instantaneous response and flexibility, you need those guys have a real value proposition in flexibility in these local markets, right?
Yeah.
You know that. And
Yeah.
yeah, so they're fun to start and constantly changing. And then pandemic hit, right? And they are essential services, and people started appreciating them more
Right.
throughout the country. And the nightmares that have been supply chain for the last 2 years. But my clients have been just a joy to work with, getting things done, and partnering with people. Um, what was your question?
Well, and
Where
I was
where are we?
well, the question was, well, like, why was that a good idea? No, the question was about what are some of the customers you serve, and I think
Ah.
we dragged it out of you. Third party.
Some of
Uh,
those, yeah.
what I was asking is, what's your 30-second elevator, not the 3 hour Irish
Yeah, right, I
breakfast,
gave
but
you the 3-hour breakfast.
30 second. What's the 30 second? No, I won't. I
It's
have
sweet.
I have some more fun questions. So I know
Oh.
your favorite events, conferences. What's the next really cool thing that ISIP is going to do that people should check out? Or if you wanted to learn more about ISIP,
Mm,
I checked out the website. It's really cool. The thing about the publishing the books, that was
mm.
really neat. I looked at it because I'm publishing a book and probably a couple more. What are some of the other things for people to check out?
Well, this is the fourth quarter where there's a strategy council for ISIP that goes into plot mode, and they'll be coming out with what the topics will be for next year, like this year, and then we'll do a big spring summit, a discovery summit. So April, we can put a tentative date out there, but I don't know the topic yet. Can't really pitch it, but actually the big thing I did tease a little earlier is going to be this used to be we have institutional members and individual members, right? So corporations or entities, foundations, governments can be institutional members, or individuals like yourself could be a member, and that's right now free. I would suggest joining now. The
I'm
individual
signing up
member.
right now.
But there's going to be a service product in the spring that's going to be, yeah, we just should say ISSIP.org, and it's ISSIP.org.
And I'll have a
Um,
link to that in our show notes, and really anything we
cool.
mention, I'll try to have a link to that in our show notes. And I wrote down some of the names
Awesome.
like Emily and Luke and Jim Spore. I want to host
Oh,
all those. I'm going to host those on our podcast in
oh.
the future. um, but seriously, that's one of the benefits, I guess, to being. I've admired you because of how long you did it. Because I did it for 10 years, and I know how much work it is that it's all volunteer time. I mean, you're networking, you're doing business and everything. Um, but what's your favorite tools and software? So we were talking a little bit about technology. So what's something you like that we just started using Slack here at our company. I'd heard of it, but I didn't like the name. So I was like, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah,
Turns out it's
right.
a really good thing. Like, well,
Actually, we have the Slack. ISIP works in Slack. We have a Slack channel. When you sign up, you can come into Slack. And actually, I don't know if you've ever heard of. There's somebody. Joanne Wright is the VP of Enterprise and Operations for IBM. She's massive, huge, amazing woman leader, transformative leader. That's when the pandemic hit. I think the blurb on her said that inside 7 days she had 9,000 people working remotely. Got it done, kept things
uh,
rolling. She's leading the digital transformation of IBM itself, right? And has all the real estate around the world. She's amazing. She's talking, giving her, profound pearls of wisdom to the group in the Discovery Summit, and she mentioned that we're slackers.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. I just want to make sure I can quote that. Joanne Wright says IBM are slackers. That's a new one to me. Honestly, in the last 6 months, I have become so much more efficient in everything I do because of needing to work on Google Drive, on and in Slack, and this constant communication. Actually, the other thing, that's a great question mark. Question mark. How funny. That's a book title.
It's a question mark.
In the last 2 years, because of the pandemic, what Carrollco does has changed so dramatically because we were very trade show focused, right? You do your campaigns
Yeah.
with an anchor, right? You're going to be building attention and then meeting people and then, try to set up meetings, that kind of thing. So the meetings went away. So what are we doing? The anchor. So we've just really been digitizing the marketing effort, which caused us to move into Teams. And the guy that's my digital strategist, he's amazing. Actually, he's marketing strategist, but he leads all the digital work for Carrollco clients. Teams works pretty darn well. And Google Drive and Slack, those are the big 3 tools that I'm using now. And I feel bad for having resisted those when many people have tried over the years.
Yeah. Hey, I resisted email until like 2005. I used to, when I worked for another company, I used to have them print out my emails and put them it was like a red folder. And I would come to my office every day. I was looking like, oh, there's 3 emails in there and they were printed out. And I'll be like, these guys, I'm going to laugh when the email doesn't work anymore. So
that's especially bad.
Especially bad. So, and I think, in my defense, after 23 something years, I think email could be on its way out. Honestly.
No, yeah, seriously,
because you have all these other tools in Slack and you can text, and the way Slack is for us, because we have a lot of communication, you just organize it into projects. So when you go back to look at something, you don't have to go look through the email string or a text string, like where was this? It's in Slack, it's right there. You go into that project, it's in order by date, and put documents in there and pictures and everything
it
else.
should be out, but that's a mindset that's really hard to change. I took a visibility services client around for some years ago, one of my German clients, and they have a tool now. Finally, they're growing, but it was so long because it was a platform for monitoring, visibility. Where's it at in the supply chain, from sourcing of the materials through manufacturing, the warehousing, the distribution, the fulfillment, the return, covered the whole thing. It's just really impressive. And these major fast fashion and apparel manufacturers were so excited by what was possible, and then would say, yeah, but no, not here, because of turf wars, because of the organizational silos. And now it's taken, this is, probably year 7
that
it's finally, Mark, we talk about this. So mindsets and how you can change. How do you manage real change, right? So that's an example of where, sometimes the market research just says you can't yet, not here, not with that segment, right? They can't think that way. My daughter, I have millennial daughters, and I spend a great deal of time with much younger people, and it helps keep you younger, right? But I remember one time laughing, and I won't go down any more rat holes with you. Sorry. I laughed because she said something smart, and I said, "Oh, that is so out of the box. That is out of the box thinking." And she turns and just says, "What box? What?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, that's perfect." But we laugh, and then move on. I've reflected on that and thought, that's the thing. Our laugh says there's a way to do this. There's a way to think about this. You are not in it. You don't get it. And I stay in my little silo, my system of thinking about this. When that's the person you want thinking about this space that we're growing into in business, that's the kind of thinking, that's what bringing in diversity, equity, inclusion will mean, right? That you get people who don't even know about the box, and they don't need to, there's no merit to teaching that, just let's hear what they think.
And so what I hear you saying is, and this is 100% right on, when we talk about people centered, we don't just mean it in like a feel good way. We mean it in like people centered. It's more effective because people are going to do it. People are going to be more open to innovation. Yeah. And even like I've always considered myself like, oh, I'm super open to change, evolving. Like I love the year like growth, continuous improvement, evolving. And then I remember one time I worked for someone else, they wanted to change the way we were numbering our proposals to make it uniform. And I like freaked out. Like, oh, we can't change the way we're doing that. But I'm so open and to new ideas. But it is, I think it's human nature, right? It's like I created this numbering system for my proposals. Like I want to keep it. So
yeah. Let me keep some pieces of my comfort zone. Right?
Yeah. So this has been great, Michelle. We're almost out of time, but we have with us Michele Carroll, Carrollco Marketing, ISSIP. I'm excited, and we're going to have links. I mean, I think really anybody who listens to this podcast could benefit from at least checking out the ISSIP website. And I guess you could sign up, or you could stay in touch and hear about events. Is that right?
You can, ISSIP.org.
Yeah, and then what's the best way for finding out about Carrollco Marketing? Carrollco.com, or what's the best way?
Actually, for either, it's Michele at carrollcomarketing.com or Michele at ISSIP.org.
They'll send you an email, get a dialogue started if people want to learn more. Well, this has been awesome. Thank you so much, Michele. It's always been great over the years, and it has been, seems like only about 5 years, but it's been longer than it's been like 20 or 30. Thank you for joining us on the Dow Pizza.
Thank you for your decades of service and this innovation, Mark. My first podcast. Thank you.
Awesome. I was surprised when you said that because, like, Michele, so that's another. I was going to ask you what's your favorite podcast, but we all already know the answer.
I keep clients short, crisp. We don't want long hours. Yeah, no, you're opening my mind.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to the Tao of Pizza podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.